So it's not actually a secret. The reason why I've called this video a secret is because not a lot of you lot seem to understand the basics, and that's why I've called it a secret. And what I mean by basics is the core elements of what it takes to be successful at trading. Now, I completely understand there are millions of different strategies out there, millions of different ways to trade and different ways to teach people to trade. There is no industry standard on how to teach someone to trade. And I totally understand that because, like I said, there's millions of different ways to trade and also millions of different ways to teach people. But not a lot of you lot seem to understand the core elements of what it takes to be successful at trading. So in today's video, we're going to bring it back to basics. Now, you've got to treat trading a bit like a business, okay? Imagine this. If you buy a TV and it costs £100 and you sell that TV at £200, how much money have you made? Well, it's quite simple. You've made £100. You made £100 profit, okay? Now imagine you've bought a TV at £100 and you sell it at £100. How much money have you made? Zero. Okay, you bought it and sold it at what you paid for it. And that's basically trading. You've got to treat trading like a business. Like a business has expenses, trading has losses. It has expenses too. And that is something called spread. Okay, because I've been getting a lot of messages and comments saying that, Jamie, how do you go for 5 pip take profits? How do you have a 10 pip stop loss, 10 pip take profit? Because the spread will take you out. You know, how can you have a 5 pip take profit if your spread is 5 pips? Okay, let me just clear this up for you now. You always factor in the spread whenever you take a trade. This is why you go for brokers that have lower spreads, because it's lower cost. Bit like a TV, like I said, right? If you buy a TV at £100, imagine it a bit like spread. The lower the spread, the lower the TV costs, the more money you make when you sell that TV. Okay, you don't want to be buying TVs at £100 and selling them for £200. You want to be buying them at £70, £80, and then selling them at £200 because you make more money. It's the same with spread. You want to always factor in the spread when you take a trade. Now, to give you an example here, I have a nice little example here. It's not the best, but you know what? It doesn't need to be. It's just simple. It's just keeping it simple. Okay, so imagine now I have took a trade. It's got a 10 pips take profit, 10 pip stop loss. Now, we always factor in the spread. Okay, because when you take a trade, let me draw on my charts like this. Okay, and I've decided I'm going to take a buy on Euro USD, 10 pip stop loss, 10 pip take profit. This is where I take a trade. So I go right click, take a trade right now. The moment I take a trade, I actually enter that trade here. The difference here is the spread. And it seems to be not a lot of you lot understand this concept. So every time you take a trade, you always start in the negative. You always start in the spread. This is the broker's commission that they make, that they profit from every time you take a trade. So every time you take a trade, you will pay some spread or commission, and that goes to the broker. And this is the spread. Okay, so if you have a 10 pip stop loss, you are already going 4 pips in the spread. So how many pips does it take for you to hit your stop loss? 6 pips, okay? 6 pips. Because you start at 0, and the moment you take a trade, you instantly go minus 4 pips, okay? So if you've got a 10 pip stop loss, you've only got 6 pips difference, right? So if your trade then goes a further 6 pips down, you get stopped out. Okay, because you got a 10 pip stop loss. Now this works in the opposite direction. Because you start in the broker's spread in the negative, you've got to make 4 pips first before you go back to 0. So let's have a look at this trade. Hold on, let me go have a look at this trade that I'm currently in, right? Here we go here. Now, here we go, just closed 5 pips there. Okay, now that trade did not start off 0. It started off in the spread. I had to make the spread back, which could be on this example here, 4 pips, and then I had to make additional 5 pips on top. So to give an example here, right, let's just keep it simple. If this trade hits 10 pips take profit, I actually have to have this trade go 14 pips, because I start off here, I go 4 pips spread to 0, and then I have to make a further 10 pips to hit take profit. So even though this trade has gone 14 pips in my favor, I've only made 10 pips because of the 4 pip spread. Now, if this trade hits my stop loss, then I start off minus 4 pips, because like I said, that goes to the broker, and then I go a further 6 pips down and I hit my stop loss. This is why you always factor in the spread. So if you have a 10 pip take profit and a 10 pip stop loss, always factor in the spread on top. So instead of going for 10 pips, you'd go for 11 pips or 12 pips. Okay, the reason being is because you always want to factor in that spread. So when I go for 5 pips take profit, okay, and I have a 1 pip spread, I want to be going for 6 pips take profit. Okay, now a lot of you lot always say to me, Jamie, but you always set your trades at 5 pips. When you actually have a look at the trades that we just closed now, if you actually have a look at history today, okay, have a look at today, you will notice that these trades went to 5 pips. You didn't factor in the spread, Jamie. Of course, but my broker has extremely low spreads, and this is what you want to be doing too. You want to be finding brokers with low spreads, because at the end of the day, you don't want your trading to be expensive. The more spread there is, or the higher the spread in pips, the more money you're giving back to the broker. Well, I don't want to do that. I want more money for me. So you find brokers with lower spreads. Now, to give an example here, this is the spread of my broker. 0.1 pips on Euro USD. 0.3 pips on GP USD. Now, obviously, spread will change due to market times, the trading session you're trading, and also market volatility. Okay, if there's a lot of news, spreads increases. Okay, now for me, if I'm trading Euro USD, I can take a trade with 5 pips take profit, because I'm only going to be paying 0.2 pips max. Okay, now if your broker has spread of 5 pips, right, it ain't going to work for you, because if you've got a 5 pip take profit and your spread is 5 pips, how is that going to work? It's not going to work. This is why you always factor in the spread. So with the Buy and Destroy 8.0, let me give an example. It has here, you can't actually see this. In fact, let me just bring it up here. You can see here, okay, I actually included this with the Buy and Destroyer. In fact, watch this, okay, look, this is CAD Chef. Watch the pip spread. This is Euro USD here. See, so this is Euro USD, 1.1 pips. Now, I use a different broker to CTrader, so I have different spreads. But the reason why I built the Buy and Destroyer 8.0 and put this in was for this exact reason. So right now, if I was to take a sell on Euro USD, and I was gonna set a 5 pip stop loss, 5 pip take profit, I would factor this in. So I'd go for a 6 pip stop loss, 6 pip take profit. You always do this when you are trading, because taking it back to a business, you always have to factor in the cost of your goods, right? Going back to the whole, you buy a TV for £100, you sell it for 200, you make £100. That's the exact same with trading. You've got to look at the cost of what it costs to trade. For me, it's 1.1 pips. That's what it's costing me to take a trade right now on Euro USD. Now, obviously, my broker with IC Markets is slightly different. And as you can see here, I pay a lot less in spreads. And this is where you want to be. You want, going back to a business again, you want your goods to be cheaper and you want to be selling higher to maximize those profits. That's the same with trading. Now, I thought this was basic trading knowledge. I thought a lot of you lot understood this, but clearly you haven't, right? So moving forward, and what I want you to take from this video is every time you trade, always factor in that spread on top. So first of all, look at what the spread is on that particular currency pair. If it's 1 pip, 2 pips, whatever, okay? For me, obviously, it's less than 1 pip. So for me, it doesn't really matter. I never actually factor in the spread when I trade because the spread that I pay is so low. It's like, I mean, look here, Euro USD is currently 0. I don't pay any spread. So for me, I don't factor in the spread because I pay so little. But like I said, going back to it, if you're setting a 5 pip take profit, 1 pip spread, you set your take profit at 6 pips. Always factor the cost in of what it takes to trade. So yeah, that's the history of spreads. My name's Jamie Palmer. I hope you enjoyed the video.